So they called it the summer without children. Pools were empty. Movie houses had very few people in them. Neighborhoods were quiet because there were no children playing outside. It was 1950, and polio was a crisis here in the United States. By 1952, there were tens of thousands of cases of polio and over 3,000, mostly children, but also adults, who died of it. Now, during this time, there was a man named Jonas Salk, and Salk was working on a polio vaccine. And after multiple tries and trials and testing, in 1955, that polio vaccine became available to all. I won't ask who in this room remembers that, because we're not, we don't have to show our age today, right? But that was 1955. And what he did or didn't do is he chose not to patent that vaccine. Patenting that vaccine would have meant innumerable amounts of money coming his way, but he chose not to do that. And when he was asked, why didn't you patent it, he responded by saying, well, it belongs to everybody, doesn't it? After all, you couldn't patent the sun, could you? I love that story because it's a story about generosity, but not just generosity. It's a story about meeting the moment. Here he was in a very specific moment when there was such need, and he met that moment and then decided to be generous enough, not just to give to that moment, but to give to an entire future that he couldn't know. He couldn't know necessarily all the good that vaccine would eventually do, but he went ahead and gave it away to that unknown future. That is, I think, the essence of true generosity. Now, I don't need to tell you that we may not be in a polio moment, thank goodness, but we are in our own particular moment. And because you are all living it, I don't have to explain exactly what this moment is. As we've heard in our service already, we're thinking about global affairs this morning. We're thinking about conflict and war. We're thinking about those trans folks in Kansas who are discovering that their licenses are no longer valid because the gender on their license doesn't match what's on their birth certificate. We know we are in this very particular moment, and we know that we are trying to meet this moment as a community. And we know that there are people who find Tapestry at this moment because they are looking for very particular things. They're looking for meaning, they're looking for purpose, and they're looking for belonging. And probably most of us who are here already are also still on a quest for those things. Meaning, when I talk about meaning, what I'm saying is that we as individuals are looking for how we fit into everything else. How are we connected to something more than just our individual selves? As we start exploring that, then out of that often emerges a purpose. What is it that I'm called to do in this moment, in this world? And then belonging. It's one thing to try and figure all this out by yourself when you're home alone sitting on your sofa, but it means so much more when you are in a community supported by others who are going on that same journey of finding meaning, purpose, and belonging. And people who are finding Tapestry right now are looking for those very things. This is how we love people. But what I've learned over the years is that love isn't just some abstract idea. It's not just some feeling that we have. Love requires support. Love requires systems being in place so that you can enact that love out in the world. It requires time and organization and coordination. Every act of love eventually needs some kind of system to support it. It doesn't just happen on its own. It needs systems to carry it. We've been talking today about staffing here at Tapestry. It's part of our foundation. Because when we are well staffed, we're able to do all of those organizational pieces and all those communication pieces that allow us to truly, truly do that loving work that we are called by our mission to do out in the world. That foundation allows us to do everything else. And this congregation is no stranger to doing this work. It's no stranger to organizing in order to enact that love in the world. We heard this morning about the Welcoming Congregations renewal, the LGBTQ plus work this congregation does. We know about the Green Sanctuary work that this congregation does, trying to make sure we're aligned with the environmental needs. We know about Welcoming Neighbors Home, the work that we're trying to do on helping those who are without homes. We know about all of the different things here at Tapestry that people have been working on for so long. The Friends of Orange County Detainees, more relevant and needed than ever, our attention to immigrant concerns. And of course, there are so many other things that Tapestry has supported and worked on over the years and continues to work on now, very public things. But it's also the private things at Tapestry that sometimes touch me. And they're the things that we don't always all know about. You know, being asked to write a letter for an immigrant who had become connected to this congregation and was going to court and needed a reference and needed the support that this congregation could give. Or people being cared for in moments when their own lives are challenging or they're facing loss or grief. Sometimes really quiet, personal things happen in this community that we don't all know about, but show the care and love that we try to offer our world. You know, I think about 30 years ago, which actually, as I get a little bit older, sounds like less and less time as it goes on. But it's still 3 decades, right? 30 years is a good long time. And I just by show of hands, who in this room was here 30 years ago when this congregation began? We are going to be celebrating you folks all month as we continue talking about this history. But the folks who are in this room who were here 30 years ago, and of course, all the people who aren't in this room are no longer with us. But just think about the fact that they were willing to invest in a future that was unknown. They couldn't know that they'd be sitting in this sanctuary, in this building, in this place, in a different city than they were even in 30 years ago. That's the thing about generosity, just like Jonah's salt. We don't know where it will lead. We just know we are opening up possibilities for a future. That when we put good out into the world, when we invest in what we care about, that it opens up the possibility for things to happen. You know, when I started at seminary, we were asked a question early on. We were asked what we thought church was, and so we said things like community and a place where we go regularly, so there's a ritualized aspect to it. It's a place where we give money on a regular basis, a place where we build relationships, a place where we sit and figure out our lives and our place in the world. And so the instructor asked us, well, how then is church different than Starbucks? And you know what? I couldn't answer it. It sure sounded like what happens at Starbucks, doesn't it? You know, people go there on a regular basis, they give their money, there's a ritual, they get the specific coffee, they start to get to know people who work there or people who are there every day, they sit and they think. But what I've realized, and it may have taken me all of this time to get there, is that the difference is that while you might be able to find meaning, purpose, and belonging at Starbucks, that is not Starbucks' intention. That just happens maybe sometimes. A community like this is built on the intention of helping people find meaning, purpose, and belonging. And I don't know too many other places you can go where that's the intention. That's what makes it so, so beautiful. You know, if you can, and you may be new to us this morning, I would encourage you to do this exercise too. If you'd like to just close your eyes, if you feel comfortable with that, just for a moment. And I just invite you to think, to remember a moment that you felt really welcomed, supported, or more fully yourself here at Tapestry. Just let your mind and heart settle on a moment. And remember how that felt. Maybe it happened this morning. Maybe it was 30 years ago. And as you open your eyes, I encourage you to just hold on to that feeling. Sometimes we get so used to our routine, we forget what it was that really sparked that connection with us. Why a community like this really, really matters. And the people in this room are remembering why it has mattered to them. But just think about all the people this community has touched over the years who aren't in this room. Maybe people who've been touched by the different social justice or outreach efforts of this community out in the world, who are feeling something about Tapestry. That network of care is beyond our reckoning, beyond our true understanding. This week I had the opportunity of, I'm really excited about this. A few of us got to go to the South County Outreach Food Pantry, which, if you are familiar with that, you may have known it to be in Irvine. It's actually now here in our complex, just a few doors down. It will be opening in June, and it is a place that is dedicated to building relationships with people. They call them shoppers, and those folks come in and get food that's needed. They help hundreds of families every week. And I so appreciated hearing their philosophy of building relationships and making sure that people feel a full sense of being honored and dignity in that space. Very, very important. And that's going to be just a couple doors down from us. It's one of those partnerships that Tapestry can have and build when we have our foundation steady. So often congregations continue to look more within when you're just trying to get yourself organized and set up in the way that you need to be set up. So it gets harder to look out at what the need might be. But the stronger we are this spring with this stewardship drive, the more our foundation feels like it's really solid, the more we're able to be part of partnerships with organizations like South County Outreach. So we take care of what's here at home, and then that allows us to expand our scope out even further. And you know, we're going to vision in a couple of weeks, but I just wanted to offer a little bit of a vision this morning, thinking about what might be possible. And I thought about the fact that here in South County, having Tapestry be known as the community hub for organizations that are aligned with our values, that would be really meaningful. And we're already partially there. There are a lot of folks who know about us and appreciate the hospitality this congregation has offered. But I think we could really be the hub. I think it's needed. Can you name, I can't name another place where that feels like it's the center. And I think we could be part of that center. I think it could be a place where we expand our children and youth programs. And what about young adults? Remember, there's people that have ages between 18 and 35? A young adult program. That's a thing to be found, right? There's a few in this room even. We could put some energy and time and effort into building a program so people in that age group feel welcome and have a say in what Tapestry becomes in the future. We could have more expansive pastoral care programs. We could have a midweek gathering where we come together for Wednesday night potluck or catered meal, and then have a contemplative service with guitar accompaniment, and maybe some of our dedicated worship associates offering personal reflections and time for meditation. So many things that we could do. And I'm taking those things I just mentioned from the program size congregation that I served up north several years ago. Those are all things that we did there on a regular basis. So I know it's possible. I know what's possible. And I know that the people who made those things possible did so because they were willing to dream those things into reality. So even as we talk about foundational work this spring, we can also start to envision what that future might look like and feel like. I believe that communities like this will continue to become even more important, especially as we see what's happening with technology. I don't know if folks have seen those apps and programs that create artificial intelligence, AI companions that look just however you want them to look and will talk to you and talk to you in the way that you want to be talked to and so on. It's a tool. There might be some good in it. I'm not saying it's all bad necessarily, but when we think about people starting to disconnect from real human beings and starting to spend all their time with technology, I want to be a place here at Tapestry that offers them an alternative to that. I think it's going to be really, really important. I think it's important now, but I think it will continue to be even more important in the future. I think there's a lot of reasons why a place like Tapestry really matters now more than ever. I'm going to be absolutely honest with all of you. At this moment in time, I don't feel like beating around the bush about things. I feel like there are things that have to be said. And I think that one of the things I would say is that where you put your time, talent, and treasure in this moment in time really says a lot about who any of us is. I've recognized that where I want to put my energy, the things I want to worry about, the relationships I want to have, whether they are easy or challenging sometimes, are in places where people have an understanding of the world that is similar to mine at this moment and are trying to do the work to respond to that. That is what I think is of great value right now. That we put our time, our talent, and treasure into organizations, whether it's Tapestry or other organizations, that truly align with what we believe and who we are at our core. This just matters so much now in ways that have always mattered, but matter at a different level. The stakes are higher at this moment. I come back to Jonas Salk, come back to that idea of not knowing what the future might be. I don't think he probably would have imagined that in 2026 there would be so much vaccine skepticism. I think that would probably have surprised him. I think he probably would think we'd maybe be past vaccines at this point, and maybe we haven't always moved in as straight and as clear of a line in our human evolution as we would like. But the reality is that even with the setbacks that we have along the way, it's so important that we have that vaccine. It's so important that people who have put good out into the world to meet the moment have allowed that good to move out into the future, a future where they didn't always know what might happen. History doesn't move in a straight line. That doesn't matter. We take the risk, just like the people in this congregation took that risk 30 years ago, not knowing what might happen. But here we are. The good has endured. And we can meet this moment. And more importantly, it's not just a moment. I think because of our history and our values and our commitment to what we believe in, this is actually our moment.